Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. Brother, it's so easy with Brother at your side. And Quilt Cut, easy fabric cutting for quilters.
Hi, welcome to Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community. I'm Lori Baker. With me today is June Mellinger, Director of Product Development and Promotion for Brother International. Welcome, June.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So tell me what you're going to do today.
Well, you know, Amish quilts have always been interesting to me. I think because my husband is from that background, the Pennsylvania background and so forth. But many years ago, my mother and I decided that we would get together and do some beginners Amish quilts because she was just getting started with this idea. So Mom made this quilt right here. She has another one at home as well. And you can see it's a beginning of event with making a quilt, and she's added the black with the contrasting solid fabrics, and she didn't quilt it, she just pieced it and then sewed the corner squares in to hold as a tacking, if you will. And it's really great, but I've had it in my house for about 10 years or so, and I thought, you know, maybe it's time to jazz this quilt up. I have another Amish quilt that we have here on set as well, where I added some decorative flowers to the black centers, and so it really looks kind of different to me. So I thought, let's see what I can do to jazz up this quilt. After all, you know, that's what quilting's about.
Absolutely.
So let's reveal what I did.
Okay.
So you can see, I said, let's see. I have a charm pack of fabrics that I have, you know, they come in all shapes and sizes. Charm packs are very popular today. You can even cut them with fabric cutting machines. You can cut your squares to the size that you like. I'm using 5-inch squares. So I said, well, flowers, a floral pattern is not going to work. But I had this beautiful solid grouping of fabrics in a charm pack that I had just gotten. And it was pretty funny because I went to the Modern Art Quilt Guild event in New York City at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. And I took my 13-year-old granddaughter. And she was like, what is going on here? And you know, they had auctions and they had authors speaking and different things. So she got involved with the silent auction, and I had bid on this charm square pack. Well, she kept going, it's still available, you're still the first one. And then I won it, so I had to pay the money for it. So we brought it home, and she said, well, Grandma, what are you going to do with it now that you have it? So I said, well, I'm going to show you. You can do a lot of things for quilts with a charm square pack. So this is one of the ideas. So you can see I made appliques with some of the sections of the charm squares, and I also made these prairie points. And you can see how easy it was to fold them and attach them with my machine. I even left the pinked edge. I thought that might be kind of something that kind of connects that corner of the quilt with the appliques.
Yes.
So, and I really also love the colors, because look at the way we have that points going this way and the prairie points going to that corner. So that looks really kind of cool. So let me show you what we have going here. We have the charm square pack. Again, that was a 5-inch square pack. So all these colors are in here. Man, they could drive you crazy with picking the different colors.
Yes.
You know, and I know on one show we had a gal that was using a little tool that kind of helped me look at the fabric so that I can understand the gradation of colors. But you can see it was easy enough to pick through this pack and find a nice blending of colors here. So my next step was that I wanted to attach these. After I made them, I was going to attach them to the quilt. Let me show you how easy it is to make a prairie point with these charm squares, because remember, they're perfect 5-inch squares, or 4-inch, whatever size you need. I just fold it in half horizontally, and then I take my left side and I fold it in to that point, and I fold in the right side. And I'm finger pressing today, but when you are making prairie points, you do want to use your iron so that you really get a really nice, precise press to that.
Okay.
And you know, we were talking before we did the show about how some people actually blend different colors together so they have a right side and a wrong side, or they have two colors in one side and inside the other, and so they can have different, their prairie points look differently. They might look like they've been lined and so forth.
Right.
You could do that with a solid and a print if you'd like as well. And you can also make them different sizes. That was a 5-inch square. I actually took this, I got really crazy with this charm pack. I took it and I said, okay, let me get my pinking shears out, and I cut it in half this way, and then I cut it in half again, and now I had this little one, and I made a tiny little prairie point. And now I could have those be attached also on the quilt in a different way. So I got crazy with it. I mean, now all of a sudden the charm squares are doing all kinds of crazy things. They have a life of their own. So if you bring the quilt back, we'll see how we can attach that to the machine. Attach the prairie points that we have created to the binding. And you know, when we were making this quilt to begin with, we were learning. So actually today's opportunity allows us to cover up some mistakes that we might have had, or just kind of give it a new look for today. And you can see that all I have to do is just simply take my prairie points and pin them to my fabric, and then attach them with my machine here. And I have the Innovus VQ 3000 from Brother, and it's part of the Dream Weaver series, and that series actually has the laser light, and that is it's great for, you know, so straight laser vision. So actually when you look at my machine, you can see that I can use my laser light. I can move it along to different places, so it's perhaps following the edge of the fabric. You can see there where it's got right on the black. And my needle is in a centered needle position, so I can lower my presser foot. And I can use my laser guide there to be sure that I'm sewing straight along the edge of the fabric. Of course, I'm standing up here, so it's a little bit different. It's not working the way I'd like it to, but that's okay. And you can see how it's following the edge of the fabric. You want to pull out your pin, not sew over it. That's not a good thing. And you know, you can also use that Sew Straight Laser Vision Guide to actually follow the stitch or follow the edge of your fabric, whatever you would like. And again, this is a quick and easy way to add some dimension to your quilt. So now I'm going to finish this up, and we'll pretend that it's all done, but you can see how easy it was to connect your prairie points along the edge of the fabric that you're working with.
And the laser light really does help, doesn't it?
It really does. It really just guides the way. I can't make a mistake. I love it. Yeah. You can also use that as a tool for changing the width. If you're doing a zigzag stitch, you can actually use your VSonic Pen Pal so that you can press on the sensor points on the base of the machine, so you could make your zigzag stitch, maybe it's 3 millimeters wide or 6 millimeters wide. So I'm going to use my scissor that's built into the machine, so it cuts the thread, and you can see how easy it was to attach those prairie points. 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
Now, what about the applique? And I have some different dimensions that I made. Now, where did all this stuff come from? Well, I needed a flower. I went into Quilt Maker magazine and I found a really cute flower, and I said, I will trace the flower, and then I will use the pattern, if you will, to make the leaves and the different parts of the flower. So what if I have a charm square and I say I want to do a shape that's about that little heart that's about just about 2 inches square. So I mean, this is like school. I feel like I'm back in 4th grade.
Yes.
I love this kind of stuff when I was in school. So I just took my pinking shears and I went in here and I went around and cut it. 1, 2, 3. Now I have a heart, and who knew that the heart really becomes a flower when I place it around in the different areas. So what I'm going to do is I have my KK 2000 from Sulky, and I can take my, I've used this before, you can see, because you know, you don't want to make a mess. So what I would do is I would then take this and kind of spray it. I understand they're making a new spray that kind of comes out like a web, so it doesn't scatter all over like we just had the air hit the, had the air hit this. So now you have this, and now I have my couple of leaves here. And I can then, 1, 2, 3, because you know we want to be able to make things quick. Somebody was just telling me, you know, all of a sudden I keep picking up magazines and everything, and it's all about what I can make in a weekend or so forth. So I'll just take my stem, lay it down on top of the fabric. I'm going to take my flowers, my hearts, if you will. I'm going to make them into flowers. Put them together like this. I feel like I'm teaching my grandchildren how to do something. A lot of fun. And then, you know, I'm going to want to bring these in a little bit closer, if you will. I can use a button in the middle so that I can have a pretty center for the flower. And now I have this set here. Now, the first thing I'd want to do, again, is your machine. This machine comes with a multifunction foot controller so that I could set that to do 1 stitch at a time. I know where to start. I'm going to turn off the laser, if you will, the Sew Straight laser guide, because that could be a little bit distracting.
Right,
I'm
because
sewing
you
in a
don't
curve today.
exactly.
Now, we want to see how easy it is to apply the applique. The first thing I want to do, because we use the KK2000 as a temporary adhesive spray to kind of anchor the charm pack fabric to the base of the quilt, but you know, I don't want to use any pins because I want to make this, you know, quick and easy. So what I'm going to do first is I've selected a straight stitch with a drilling start. Instead of a reinforcement, it's just going to go and sew a couple of stitches in place. I've set my machine so that it cuts the thread when I'm done sewing, and I'm going to start sewing. And I've lowered my presser foot. I got the green light to go, and I'm just going to start sewing. I have it set at a medium speed. And see how quick that was? And I'm going to slow it down a little bit because I'm not using my foot controller. And I'm standing up sewing. So I'm kind of like making myself really work hard here.
Yes.
But look at how easy this works.
Yeah.
And you can see that I have my design in place, ready to just kind of sew down the center. And I want to do that with all of the segments of the design. So I'll also go back here and I'll hit the reinforcement. It just does that real quick, and then it will cut the thread automatically for me. And then I'll just be able to move over to the petals of the flower. There. Now I have it set up here like a heart. That's one way, but you know, if I really wanted to do it the right way, I would have turned these all around. I was thinking this didn't look right. So here we have them turned around. And remember, I used that temporary adhesive spray, so it's easy enough to pick it up and set it in place. You forgot to tell me they were wrong. No problem.
You're just going to straight stitch around each of those also.
Eventually I'll straight stitch. Right now I'm going to go sew right down the middle, and that's kind of like the vein, if you will, in the middle of the flower. 1, 2, 3, stop, reinforcement stitch, and then it'll cut the thread automatically. So when I'm all done, then I'll have this look. Let's bring that right into the center. Look at how cool that looks.
That's wonderful.
It does. I've got the same edge that I had in the prairie point, kind of that pinked edge. I have the pinked edge on the applique flower. I have the great colors that are in the Amish quilt to begin with, and it just makes it look something jazzy and fresh.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful. I like what you've done to fancy up the Amish style quilts.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
It was great to have you here. Hope you had some good ideas for something fun that you can do on your next project.
Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. Brother, it's so easy with Brother at your side. And Quilt Cut, easy fabric cutting for quilters.